I'd say, look who's back. Back again. Curry's back. And his friend. But we already did that one on the Yes Network. Everybody, it is Jack Curry. Jack, thanks so much for coming.
Was that your version of a rap? I need to know that.
I have rapped before. I haven't created my own rap per se. But man, mean rapper in the car.
I'm impressed.
Mean rapper in the car.
And you're right. You and I have previously used that for one of our little Yes Network introductions. Your idea, I loved it. We mimicked Eminem as close as we could, and then we moved on and tried to be serious about our work that day.
Was there any part of you that thought his people were going to reach out to our people? We don't have people really, and say, "You ripped us off."
No, but I would have loved that because now you're getting into my dream world where back when I was at Fordham and I would go to see an LL Cool J or a Run DMC, a side of me that people who only know me as a baseball reporter don't know. I'm a big fan of rap music, and I will occasionally, I'm not going to do it here, sorry Meredith, I don't want to help the ratings for your show.
Boo.
I will occasionally bust out a little rap, a little 16 bars, let it fly, just have a little fun with that.
Well, you had a great rap last year for our Yes Network promo shoot.
I
the barber
did.
shop, but they didn't use it.
They didn't use it. I gave John Ziegler, one of our promo head honchos, I gave him a little grief about that last night. Maybe we have to resurrect that because you had a great role in that. I don't want to give too much away, but Meredith was in the background as we had some fun with that, and you're nodding your head. You were acting like I actually had a little bit of a beat going on there. So yeah, I might have to bust that out one day on social media somewhere.
You said young MC.
Yes.
You just said bust it out, like bust a move. You're not going to like this. I think I've told you this before. The first cassette. Does anyone even know what a cassette is anymore? The first cassette that I got, bust a move.
Why wouldn't I like that? I think that's tremendous. My first was Barracuda by heart. It was a 45. I'll put Young MC up there.
Right. Well,
Absolutely.
I was just going to say because it was probably for like my 7th birthday or something.
That's true.
Crazy.
Well, we already know there's a big age gap. That's not a big surprise.
It's anyone. If you had to pick one song that you had to listen to for the next 365 days.
Me?
Yeah, what would it be?
I would pick Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash. I
good
love
one.
that song. It's quick. I'd have to hear it 1,000 times because it's only 2 minutes and change. If I could get a backup choice, I'd probably take London Calling by The Clash. I'm a huge Clash fan. If anybody follows me on Twitter, I probably tweet too much about The Clash, a band that hasn't been around since the early 80s. But they were very pivotal when I was growing up, and I am a big believer that your favorite band should be somebody that was influential as you were growing up. I meet people now who are in their 30s and they say that they love the Beatles. Wait a second. Come on, slow down here. How could you like the Beatles when they weren't around when you were a kid? So that's why I'm such a big Clash guy. So those would be my two choices.
How did you get so into music?
I have an older brother, 2 years older than me. We shared a room growing up in Jersey City, and his music became my music. I would come home and my brother would be listening to The Jam, The Clash, Bruce Springsteen, Elvis Costello, who you, a couple of years ago, told me, I don't know who Elvis Costello is.
I'd heard of him, but I couldn't tell you one song.
I was so sad that day, Meredith. I don't want to tell you how sad I was. But he was the influence, and what he was interested in, then I became interested in. And when I got to college, I knew I wanted to be a sports journalist, but I actually moonlighted a little bit as a music journalist.
Really?
I would do some album reviews. I would cover concerts. Believe it or not, my biggest interview get in college had nothing to do with sports. I interviewed Billy Idol.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. How'd you manage that?
Billy Idol was coming to Fordham. I contacted the record company, and I don't know if the tickets were sold out or not sold out, but I did a 90-minute phone interview with Billy Idol. And the folks who are listening to this are going to laugh at this, but in the 80s, I don't even think we had a speakerphone, but somehow one of my roommates was very gadgety, and he was able to funnel the interview through our little stereo system. So all of my roommates, if they stayed quiet, I said, you can listen to his answers as they're coming in on the phone. So that was, I've always had a passion for music. I love baseball. That's how I've made my living. That's what I do. But I think you have to have some downtime, and you have to have some interests and some hobbies that don't add to what you do every day in terms of sports. So that's why I'm so into music.
Speaking of making a living, Full Count, available now, written by Jack Curry, David Cohn, unbelievable book. If the people have not purchased it yet, which, what are you doing?
I know, what are you waiting
been
for?
Listening to? I mean, go get it.
If you wanted to add into your intro, New York Times bestseller,
New York Times
I wouldn't argue with
bestseller.
that. And for Amazon, it's $15 right now. So Coney made this book. We're joking around, but I approached David Cohn maybe 5 years ago and said, your pitching mind is so ripe with information. I would love to write a book with you. In typical Cohn fashion, I'll use the water. He had a coffee. He took a sip.
Okay.
Let's do it. And then we just went to work on the book, and he made me much better at the job I have right now because I'm in the studio. You're getting the interviews. The interviews are coming on in the post game. CeCe Sabathia is talking about his slider. Well, Cohn has talked to me about his slider, and I know so much more about pitching because of having the opportunity to work with him on this book.
When you talk to certain people that have played the game, that just see the game differently, they've obviously experienced it for themselves. They have a way of telling you about the game and describing things that maybe you wouldn't have thought yourself. And one of those guys, although we've only had a very, very, very small sample size with Garrett Cole, but he seems to be one of those guys that just kind of looks at things differently and is certainly very analytical when it comes to his pitching.
He absolutely is, Meredith. I agree with you 100%. And you're right, it's a small sample size for us now, but just getting the opportunity to ask him some pitching questions. And some pitchers don't want to share. Some pitchers don't want to go into chapter and verse about what they're doing. But if you ask Garrett Cole, even during one of these simulated games, it looked like you threw a fastball there and you kind of yanked it out of the zone. What happened there? You're going to get an answer. You're going to get, well, as I came through my delivery, my side opened up a little bit and my arm slot wasn't where I needed it to be. I mean, this guy is a craftsman at being a pitcher, and I so look forward to the opportunity to cover him this year just to hear some of his pitching insights.
You and me both. I feel like it's going to make for some really good post games on the Yes Network, and a pretty cool thing that Jack Curry is working on right now. He is trying to get David Cohn and Garrett Cole to sit down with him and talk a little bit about pitching. So make sure you keep checking back because we will eventually have that on the Yes Network.
I think it's going to happen. Cohn and Cole have both confirmed. We're trying to lock down the date right now. And Meredith, you've been involved in interviews like this, so you know this as well as I do. My job in that interview is going to be to stay out of the way. It's going to be lob them those questions, dig into their mind a little bit. I already have 4 or 5 categories that I definitely want to dig into, but I also want those two to ping pong questions back off each other. Cole has already said to me, he did start to read the book. I have to throw that humble brag out there. He said, I love Coney's creativity. And when you look at Cole as a pitcher, he's not known for being the creative pitcher that Cohn became. He's a power pitcher, and he's coming at you with those 4 pitches, and he thinks he can get you out. He can get those swings and misses. I mean, we saw the number of strikeouts last year. Very intrigued by Cohn's creativity, and what David would tell you is everybody's going to lose their fastball at some point. You're going to lose that velocity. When you lose that velocity, how do you become a pitcher at that next level? And that's why I think Cole's interested in that part of it.
So we started the book already, but did you autograph the book yet? Because Cole asked for Jack Curry's autograph, and Curry politely declined.
Yes, he did. I walked up to his locker and only spoken to him a couple times, and I said, listen, I have heard that you're a fan of David Cohn's. Worked on this book with him. Just wanted to give it to you. And I handed it to him in a manila envelope. He took it out right away and said, did you sign it? And Meredith, you know the way we are in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
I want to be as discreet as possible in the clubhouse. I want to be a pro. I didn't even really want anybody to see that I had given him the book. So I said, Garrett, I would love to sign it. How about when Coney gets down here, we'll both sign it. Do you know, a day or two later, he said to me, I'm 4 chapters in, and I'm really enjoying it so far. And I said, that is one of the best compliments anybody has given to me, that somebody at the top of his profession is reading what David told me and what I transferred into these pages and is actually enjoying it. That was a pretty cool thing.
I know you're still enjoying the fruits of your labor, but is the mind kind of churning a little bit? Are you thinking of next book ideas?
I did a book with Derek Jeter 20 years ago, and it took 20 years to do another one. I don't think it'll take 20 years to do another one, Yes, I have a couple of ideas. I'm not going to share them right now because they may never come to fruition.
Didn't sign anything yet either. So.
But yes, it's a labor of love. If you get the right topic or the right person to collaborate with, it hangs over you like an anvil on a lot of days. But when you can, as you said, see the final product, walk into a Barnes and Noble and see your book right in the front door, and people are purchasing it, or go on Amazon and read a review, and hopefully the reviews are positive. There is a very euphoric feeling about that.
That's pretty cool. Now, this is pretty cool for me because I actually get to be next to Jack and talk to him, and oftentimes you guys are in the studio.
Right.
I'm at the stadium. So let me know, what's going on at the studio? Do you guys get along as well every day as it appears on the air, or are there people stealing candy and maybe playing some pranks on people? Because I know you are pranks.
I love playing pranks. I'll answer that in a second. I love working with Bob Lorenz and
He's
Flash.
Great. Oh, they're great.
But Flash is there about a third of the time, so I have to focus in on Lorenz because we're there together so often. Bob is the most selfless person I've ever worked with. He wants you to have a better show than him, and I've never worked with somebody as selfless as he is. So that's a really cool thing to go into work and experience that. You're right about the candy. Here's one little thing I will tell you. So when we finish the pregame, everybody wants to eat dinner. It's 7 o'clock or so. Bob will go pick up dinner for me. This is my 11th year at Yes. I don't think I've ever driven to pick up the dinner. I might go with him, but sometimes I'll say, Tanaka said he was going to work on his splitter. I really want to see the top of the first inning. And Bob says, I'm cool. I'll go and do it. But here's where you enter into this. When they tell us Meredith is online, talk in her ear, I don't know if you've noticed this. I've been in your spot when I fill in doing that job. I don't like hearing a lot of voices. So quite often, I never say hello to you. And it's never that I don't want to say hello to you, but I know you're getting your earpiece in, and so I always just try and lay back a little bit. I hope you're cool with that.
I'm going to make a point every time this year. Somebody will be talking to me like, where's Jack Curry?
How come Jack hasn't said hello?
I don't hear Jack. Where's Jack? Now, I heard a little bit of a rumor, or maybe it's not a rumor, that if you do go with Bob Lorenz to go get dinner, you guys turn on the radio, and there's a little tradition for you.
We
two.
love hearing John and Susan getting the first inning or so rolling, and we love how Susan always throws it to John the same way. It's just fantastic. And now stepping up to the plate for the whomever, for the Tampa Bay Rays is player X. Stepping up to the mic for us is John Sterling. And John always says, well, thank you, Susan. And you get John reintroducing himself to the audience. But I will say this. I love John and Susan.
Classic
and in
duo.
that little ride, that little bit that we hear, I'm reminded of why they're such a great duo. There's some interaction, there's some nugget of information that they dispense in that half an inning or so that we hear that is a reminder of why they are the pros that they are.
Rain delays.
Yes.
Love or hate? I mean, nobody wants to be in a delay, but you guys get to really play off each other a lot. Is that difficult when you have that 2-hour rain delay, or is it something that you kind of thrive off of?
It's important to our boss, John Filippelli. He has told us that if we do rain delay coverage, we hold the audience. So if it's important to your boss, it had better be important to you. And I'm not looking for brownie points here. And I will say this, Meredith, as much as some of our cameramen who might be listening at some point and would disagree with me, I actually enjoy it because I think it gives you a chance, and I was going to reach for a notebook. It gives you a chance to remind everyone, right, that here you go. You have all these notes about the team, and I always say to Bob, if we're in a bind and you're about to throw a video or an interview that Meredith did and we don't have it, ask me anything. So that means if he says, what have you thought about Tyler Wade's defense recently? Clint Frazier is at AAA. How soon can he get to the major league level? Jay Happ was roughed up a little bit in his last start. What are some of the things he has to do differently? I think in the rain delay coverage, that's your opportunity to sort of open your notebook and tell everybody some of the things you know about the team.
How many notebooks do you use in a year? And do you still use the reporter notebook?
I do.
Even if you're just in studio?
I do still use that reporter notebook. I'm a print journalist at heart. That's the world I came up in. And I laugh because a lot of the younger journalists will take their notes on these.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can't do that.
It's not the same.
I need the notebook. I need to write it down. One a month. I write really small, so I'm able to probably get a month out of one notebook.
Do you save them?
I do.
All of them?
To Pamela's chagrin, my wife, I have notebooks just piled up in my office closet. Yes, I have a lot of notebooks.
That's kind of cool, though.
But it's a reminder sometimes if you need something. When Jeter retired and we were doing all of our coverage leading up to that, I am not going to lie to you. I went back to crates of notebooks that I had saved, and I was pulling out little nuggets, even some phone numbers. I had some phone numbers written down, and perhaps I wanted to reach somebody who I had previously met in Jeter's life, and they were tucked away. Now, why didn't I put the phone number in here? Because this didn't exist on the day I got the phone number.
Now, let's go back to when you were on the beat,
right,
covering the Yankees for the New York Times.
Mm-hmm.
The beat was different. That was some beat at the time. A lot of characters on that beat.
Joel Sherman, John Heyman, Michael Kay, Moss Klein, very underrated reporter who worked for the Star-Ledger in New Jersey, that when people talk about great Yankee reporters, his name does not get brought up. This guy broke as many stories as anyone. And Meredith, it was eye-opening to basically get your head handed to you as a beat writer, because when you walked in at that period of time as a beat writer, Michael Kay had Mattingly in his pocket. Joel and John outworked anybody in the clubhouse. Moss Klein was very close with Gene Stick Michael and was able to get information from him that others couldn't get. And I would walk out of that press box some days wobbly and saying, I've got to get better. I've got to get better at this job. And you were an athlete. You do this now. The way that you're going to get better at something is you have to compete against people who are better than you. And I appreciated watching those guys do their job because I think it did make me better. It forced me to try and develop some of those same relationships. It forced me to get on the phone and call people who didn't know me, but maybe try and get them to trust me. It took me 6 months to get George Steinbrenner to finally return one of my phone calls. But when he did, that's Christmas morning for a reporter. He finally trusted me enough to call me back. And I am not going to lie. In my years as a beat writer, I would call George consistently because I knew John or Joel or Michael Kay. I knew everybody else was doing the same thing, trying to get a story.
Was there one story that you broke that you had that no one else had, that you were like, I have made it. This is my moment?
I was proud of this story, and it happened after Joe Torre was hired. Joe Torre was hired as the Yankee manager, and it was not received as well as the product later became. Joe Torre had an under 500 record as a manager at that time. Buck Showalter, who was let go, was viewed as this up-and-coming, brilliant manager. How could you let Showalter go? George Steinbrenner got cold feet. And he actually reached out to Buck Showalter and said, I'd like to bring you back. I'm going to shift Torre over to be a team president or give him some sort of role like that, but I want you back as manager. Buck said no. He said it wouldn't be fair to Torre, but he was already in discussions with the Arizona Diamondbacks, an expansion team, to take over for them, and they offered him a 7-year deal. I wrote that story in a Sunday New York Times and had it cold. Nobody else had that story, and
Nice.
To this day, I've still had some reporters say to me, I don't know how you got that story, but it was kind of an amazing thing to have in that day and age. And I interviewed Buck about it, and I went to Arizona to get Buck because I wanted face-to-face.
Right.
I didn't want to do it on the phone. And imagine that, too. The whole flight to Arizona, I'm hoping nobody else hears about this. And Buck was sort of real happy because he had taken over for the Diamondbacks. And he's swinging a golf club in his office. And when I said what I just told you, he stopped and he said, how did you hear about that? And so then you're right.
I know I'm right. But if you didn't make that trip, he could have just blown you off on the phone. So,
that is true.
What are you talking about, kid?
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. But when it's face-to-face, I wanted to see his reaction. I wanted to see everything that he had to say to that. And I ended up writing the story. That's one story that stands out.
That's pretty cool. Well, we're running out of time here. But before I let you go, 2 questions. One, go-to karaoke song.
Well, I'm going to sound repetitive, but again, it would be Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire, because it's short. And if you just keep a deep voice, you can get your way through it.
Comment if you'd like to see Yes Network karaoke. I feel like that's something that we can get
Wiffle
done.
ball. We got to do wiffle ball, too.
Wiffle ball.
That was one
Wiffle
thing
ball.
coming here tonight. I said I have to talk to Meredith on her show about wiffle ball. And we want to get the whole Yes Network crew. I want to see Cone throw that slider. I want to see Paul O'Neill get up there, and I want to see one of us strike him out. So we need to make that happen.
Happy to embarrass myself, or maybe I'll do better than I thought I was going to do. And if you had to, when you look at the Yankees' upcoming season, obviously we've seen a little bit so far, one song that would kind of put it all in context.
Wow, that is a great question. What would be one song that could potentially put this season in context? Man. That's a good one, Meredith. I should have an answer at the ready.
That's
and
okay.
I don't have one.
You can always come back. See, that's how I hook you. Hooking them back in.
I would say I'm going to go reggae, and I would say Bob Marley. And I don't know that this fits 100%, but I feel like the Yankees have been hovering around winning a championship, and things haven't worked out for them in the past few years. This team is built to win a championship.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have to explain why, but I will. 103 wins. They added Garrett Cole. They should have, believably, a healthy Severino. So I would say Get Up, Stand Up by Bob Marley.
Oh.
Like, get up and do what you're supposed to do. And I'm not challenging them. Aaron Boone himself would say, this is a team that could win a World Series. So that's the song that I'm going to go with.
I hope you had a little fun. Thanks for joining me.
This was fun. The time flew by. Need to get a name on this show, though. There needs to be a name right here and a sponsor right there.
I like the sponsor.
I like this.
Yeah.
I like the boom. Oh boy, it's going down. And I like this.
Full count, Amazon. You can get this right now. And if you have any name ideas, let us know. And we will see you again soon. But you can catch us tomorrow from the stadium. Check out yesnetwork.com, Yes's Instagram, Yes's Twitter. And then on the 22nd, that's the big day, people. We have the first game of the spring season. For Jack Curry, you know who I am. We'll see you next time.